Last presentation for today is from Austin. And if anybody knows Austin, you know he has a mild interest in digital currency. Just a little.
A little bit.
So take it away.
My name is Austin, and I'm going to be presenting BitBuddy, which is an application for the desktop that allows you to follow cryptocurrencies, that assists you with following cryptocurrencies. So I wanted the app to focus on 5 key areas from the start, which would be market data, news, technical analysis, to have a charting platform, and to store a portfolio locally. Starting with market data, I wanted to be able to display the latest data on cryptocurrency assets, the exchange rate between the top 50 assets and USD, the volume for that asset, the change for the asset in the last 7 days and in the last 24 hours, and then also the global cryptocurrency market, being the total market cap of the entire market and the dominance of Bitcoin and also the volume of the entire market. So for news, so why do you want news in a cryptocurrency application? Because the media affects the markets pretty strongly. It can instill panic, fear, uncertainty, or even euphoria. If maybe a company is releasing a new project, Microsoft is partnering with IOTA or something maybe, IOTA might shoot through the roof. So it's important to stay up to date on the news. An example would be, theoretically, would be why you do this? Well, actually, the chart's not showing up, so maybe that's what the problem is. So the example was that hackers steal over $40 million worth of Bitcoin from one of the world's largest exchanges. That happened on May 7th, 2 days ago. And Tron dropped by 3.5% in 45 minutes. And I actually jumped in on that at the bottom and wrote it up 6%. It was pretty nice. But if you don't know the news, you wouldn't be able to see why things are happening, because suddenly red bars start coming out of nowhere. And it's like, what's with the irrational behavior? So the core goals of the news section, though, was to provide the latest news articles and to display a brief summary and the title of a news article, and then to allow you to read the rest, if you're interested in it, read the rest of the article within the application. So on to analysis. The key elements of analysis are input, moving averages, oscillators, pivot points, and signals. The input requested from a user would be an exchange pair and also a time period. And the moving averages, oscillators, pivots, and signals would be the outputs that you get from that input. So moving on to moving averages, why they're important, or what they are. They give you an average price point over a specified time period. Simple moving averages are unweighted, meaning each piece of data is given equal weight, so no matter at what time it happened. Exponential moving averages, the later the data point is, the less it matters. For oscillators, you have commodity channel index, moving average, convergence, divergence, and relative strength index. So the commodity channel index is a momentum indicator that measures variation away from the statistical mean. Relative strength index shows when prices are rising or falling rapidly, and momentum is high, resulting in an overbought or oversold asset, which would create opportunity. If it's oversold, it'll probably come back up to the average. And then for the MACD, it identifies overall trend strength. For pivot points are going to be like support and resistance points, and they could be used to, one ideology behind pivot points is it could be used to find entry and exit points. So if you're getting close to a resistance, maybe you want to get out because you're going to see resistance and it'll come back down, or if you're near support, maybe you want to get in because it's probably going to bounce off the support. And then another part of my analysis, which is kind of a simplistic way to look at analysis, is my signals. So the moving average signals takes indicators from the simple and exponential and gives you a buy, sell, or neutral reading, or strong sell or strong buy reading. And then for the oscillators, you get the same thing, but using a bunch of oscillator data points. And then the summary takes a combination of the moving averages, oscillators, and pivots, and gives you a simple reading of buy, sell, or neutral. Dan.
Wi-Fi connection is good.
Yeah, the pictures apparently didn't save on Google or something, the pictures I added, so when a slide comes up with a picture, it doesn't want to give it. So, charts. They're useful for displaying real-time data on specific exchange pairs over specific time periods. It allows you to visualize technical indicators like Bollinger Bands, relative strength index, the moving average, convergence, divergence, and many more. There was actually a picture right here of actually, where's the screenshots? Here we go. All right, there you go. So here's an example of a Bollinger Band. You can see that the Bollinger Band is being used to determine a squeeze following an uptrend, along with increasing volume. It turned into an upward breakout, obviously. So the Bollinger Band is this band coming around the outside, and that's why visualizing some technical analysis indicators is a lot more useful than looking at numbers or data points. And that's what makes charting really important part. So for the portfolio section, I want to store the quantity of an asset owned and then display the total value of that individual asset and also of your entire portfolio. So I'm going to move on to my demo. So it's actually, I did make my desktop application. Thanks to the help of Doug, I was able to accomplish a lot with the things I got through. So here's my market page. As you can see, it's listing the top coins by market cap, and you can get the overall market cap of the entire cryptocurrency market at the top, the volume, the dominance of Bitcoin, which has been rising pretty steadily. It was about 52% a few weeks ago. And you can also see the volume of coins in the 24-hour and the change in the 7-day and the 24-hour. For the news section, you get a brief summary of an article along with the title. And if you want to read more about that, you can click the title, and within the app, it'll load that web page, and you can go on to explore the article. For the technicals page, it asks for an input of time period, so 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, and that's a candle period. And then an exchange pair, so what coin are you looking at versus what other either coin or currency. So I'm doing versus USDT, which is Tether, which stands for the US dollar. I could add things that are versus Bitcoin, but I didn't really want to do too much with that just yet. I'm not sure if I prefer that kind of analysis or versus the dollar. But as you can see, there's a signal section, which gives you the moving averages general outcome in the 15-minute outlook. So if you look at a farther out view, like the 4 hour, those are bigger candles. So it's also a strong buy. But maybe in the last, half hour, it's still a strong buy. So Bitcoin's actually been doing really well. It has, and that's why it's gaining dominance. But say like Ethereum, all right, let's go for a coin that's probably doing bad. Let's do Tron. Tron's doing good in the 5 minute, in the 1 minute, but in the C you get neutral signals. So these moving averages are based off of these simple moving averages and the estimated moving averages. So say Tron is treading high above those, it shows that it's, or with those and staying with them, it shows that it would give a buy signal. If it's losing its grasp and starting to fall beneath, then it would probably start to give a sell signal. And for the oscillators, every oscillator has its own range. So like a relative strength index is going to be a value between 0 and 100. And the closer to 0 it is, the less strength it currently has. It means it's probably being sold more. And then the higher that value is, the more it's probably overbought. So usually if it's above 70, that means it's overbought. If it's below 30, it's oversold. And then there's pivot points at the bottom, which give you the resistance and support zones, and then a medium, a centered pivot. And all this value is based off of a time period as well. So everything, it really depends how you want to look at the market, if you want to trade in the short term and the long term. Next, I have the portfolio section, which allows you to add what quantity of a holding you have, or for each coin, what quantity you have. So if you owned 5 Bitcoin, which would be pretty sweet, you'd have $32,000, and it updates and it stores it in local storage. And you can close out of the application, come back, and your portfolio will still be there. And then for the charting software, I used TradingView's charting platform because I'm not capable of developing my own charting platform, as it's like an application in itself. But the reason I'm including this in my application is because it's a really important tool. And if this is like an all-in-one utility for following cryptocurrencies and trading cryptocurrencies, then having a tool where you could add something like Bollinger Bands in and see what it looks like on a visual aspect is pretty important. You can change the time periods and all that. So for data endpoints, I'm using CoinMarketCap to get the global data and the individual market data. I'm using TradingView for all of the technical data, the moving averages, the oscillators, pivot points, and the signals. And then CryptoCompare provides news data and URLs to fetch that data from. So for frameworks, Node.js is the backbone of this application. It's a JavaScript runtime environment. And with Node, you get Node Package Manager, which allows you to easily access JavaScript libraries. Electron is a desktop application packager, so instead of usually with Node.js, you'd be running a server, and that's what I was doing in the first part of my project, but I decided I really didn't want to do a client-server thing. It just it wasn't necessary for this project. So I went with Electron, and it's turned out pretty cool. Allows you to package it, give it, you can do all the navbar stuff and everything, or all the like regular application stuff like you would at the top of the like BitBuddy and all this, right? And allows you to just completely have an app, right? So React is a library for building user interfaces. That's been a joy to learn, honestly. Using components allows you to pretty much abstract parts of your program, and you can actually import components into other components. So like in my, let's see if we can bring it back. Doesn't want to come back. So in my market section, this top data bar right here is actually its own component, and it's being displayed above a table. So it shows how you can kind of build one thing and then bring it to another. And all the data that's in that is being sent through props, which is another part of React. It's pretty much how components send data between each other. And then React DOM allowed me to dynamically access and update the content of the web page. The React router allows you to do routing and linking between throughout the application. And Material UI is the reason that my application looks so beautiful, because I am not a CSS master like some people might be. And it implements Google's Material UI, or Material Design. And then the TradingView chart came from a React package as well. It was bundled pretty nicely and pretty easy to import and display. So the main takeaways. Get through all these cards. Main takeaways, I believe it is valuable to be an expert in certain languages, but you should not allow the mastery of one language be your main concern. I never did JavaScript. I hardly did JavaScript. I've never used React. I've never used Electron. I've never used most of these things. But going through this process and learning all of them has been a real experience and allowed me to grow a ton. And I agree with everybody who says using docs or reading the docs is really important. If there wasn't documentation, I would never be anywhere near where I am. Countless times going back to React documents and all that. In this field, new technologies are constantly being developed, and many provide new possibilities for software. So continuously exploring and tinkering will only expand your knowledge. And before I started my Capstone project, I had very little knowledge of JavaScript and didn't know what Node really was at all. So persistence, along with a lot of trial and error, is bound to progress you forward. To continuously fail means you've given another attempt and learned at least what will not work. Any questions? What's up?
Have you or will you use this for your own Bitcoin needs?
Yeah.
Which one have you?
Hardly. I've only used it for about a week. But
Did it catch like the stealing of Bitcoin?
yeah, it was actually in the news section. I don't know if it is now. It's recent news. So, Joe?
So follow up to that, how would it affect the market if like everyone started using this? Like if your app said, all right, strong buy, and then everyone's strong buy, what would that like have an effect?
I mean, think about it. Yeah. I mean, obviously you thought about it, but yeah, that's something in like even technical analysis in itself affects the market because technical analysis exists. Like the reason it works so well is because so many people are doing it. So, whoever catches it first, it gets run up even more because other people are like, oh, I see what's about to happen because of this, and it's like, oh, I already saw that, and then you start dropping. It's everybody's chasing the tail or something.
So I guess the question is, are you going to keep this for yourself, or are you going to share it?
Well, I don't know what distributing this would. I don't know. I'm using TradingView's chart. I'm using data from CoinMarketCap, data from CryptoCompare. I mean, if I open source it, I guess there's nothing wrong, right? As long as you don't sell it, because it's not my data really. But yeah, I mean, it is a nice platform for a single place to get a lot of information.
Did you have to pay for the data for any of those services?
No, the one that is kind of tricky is CryptoCompare with the news. They require you to get an API key, and I think you can only get like 100,000 calls in a month or something like that, but I don't think.
Start to pay.
Yeah, if you want any more calls.
And then, did I hear you say that all the data is stored in the browser's local storage? And if so, is that normal for an Electron app?
So it's the JavaScript thing where it's store local. What is it? I forget what it's. Local store, storage local, whatever. I could pull up the whatever. I don't know about for an Electron app, but it's since it's a JavaScript app. I mean, yes, I guess because Electron apps are wrapped around Node.js, or yeah. So yes, I mean you can do it with any Electron app, most likely, assuming you're using JavaScript.
So it's not normal to say use a SQLite database?
You could, but you'd have to set up a probably a Node.js package that does SQL. And I didn't have to set up any type of database stuff. It's stored in the browser because what Electron is a what is it? Chromium. Yeah, there you go. Chromium. So it's a stripped down Google Chrome browser in a way. Any more questions?
There's one more to go. Oh, yeah, well, there's probably one to go. Yeah.
Me?
So, I need help moving stuff down, packing stuff up. Scott's got his bag. Are you gonna use that for your pillow tonight?
What?
Is that your pillow?
Yes.
Well done, everybody. Yeah, yeah, good idea. Yeah, if you're a senior. You're a senior. Okay, so, is anybody good with this stuff? Hey, wait a minute, I gotta turn off my thing.
Oh yeah, you're still.
Oh, I told everybody else that they were still.